We're looking at practice clips from minicamp and OTAs. Today, we're looking at the New England Patriots, getting another look at Drake Maye. We're going to watch him throw the rock around, work through some drills and everything else. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now because we're looking at practice. We're looking at the practice clips from training camp that are coming up. We're going to be looking at your favorite players, those rookies that you're keeping an eye on, and on top of that, those guys you're drafting in fantasy football. Click that button. Stop missing out. Pay attention to what your players are doing behind the scenes. But today, we're talking about Drake Maye. We're talking about the players around them. We're talking about the Patriots and what to expect in training camp. So here we go. We're running through these clips. There we are. And you're going to see a lot of this in training camp. A lot of drills, a lot of him pushing it downfield. And then eventually we're going to get the pads on. And then we're going to get to joint practices. Drake Maye did well as a rookie last year. Showed some promise. We got wrapped up rookie camp, OTAs, and minicamp. And now we're ready for training camp coming up, which is not too far away now. And what we expect to see from him is to continue to gel with his wide receivers. And they added Stefon Diggs. And Stefon Diggs is more than just a veteran wide receiver that is going to make an impact. He is a veteran wide receiver that's going to help the young guys. He's going to help like Pop Douglas, Kayshon Boutte, Javon Baker, Jalen Polk. You got a lot of unforeseen talent on this roster that needs to materialize, that needs to develop. And having a guy like Stefon Diggs, and he's come back from that knee injury. That's an older clip. He's come back from that knee injury, but he's looking good in practice. He's creating separation. He's looking twitched up. He's going to be a weapon for this team, but more so, he's going to help those young wide receivers. And if any of those guys can take a step forward, even if it's incrementally, like it's just a little bit, it's going to help out Drake Maye. Drake Maye, big-time prospect coming out of college, big-time prospect coming out of high school even, was instantly considered a top draft pick once we saw him in a few games at North Carolina. Just a few games where you could just tell. It was oozing out of him. Drafted in the first round. This year, they added Trevion Henderson in the second round of this year's draft. That is a huge weapon for Drake Maye and the Patriots. That is a weapon that will make this team more explosive, and the ability to check it down to him in the outlet in space is going to make this team even more dangerous because they got that speed factor. They got the ability to get the yards after the catch there. Drake Maye is going to have that outlet to allow him to keep the chains moving. That's the thing about that. We're going into year 2, so we got more experience in the system, more experience in the NFL. We are calmer here because we've been there before. Drake Maye having some options here at wide receiver. Like, this is a deep wide receiver depth chart with Stefon Diggs anchoring it, which is a good thing to see. What I'm expecting to see this year is I'm expecting him to take a little step forward. I expect the Patriots to move the ball a little bit better. I expect to see a little bit of Ramondre Stevenson. I think people are forgetting about him, but him and Trevion Henderson, I think that would be a good duo together. I think they'll share the backfield. I think Stevenson will have his moments, but eventually Trevion Henderson will let loose, and you'll see that speed on the field. Henderson is nasty in pass protection. He's nasty in pass pro. That is something that has materialized really publicly in the draft process as people came out with those pass blocking montages of him just blowing dudes' hats off because he's very aggressive in pass protection. You're looking at Drake Maye, though. He's got a good arm. He's a little bit more mobile than advertised, but on the run, making those throws, he's nasty downfield. He's got good touch. He'd be the first quarterback easily selected in this year's draft. He'd just blow this year's draft away. He's just that good of a talent. Last year's quarterback class was tremendous. It was a nasty class. And compared to this year's class, it blows it out of the water. This is a very weak quarterback class here in 2025. You look at the addition of Trevion Henderson, I think that's going to be huge for Drake Maye because you're going to have that outlet, and that's going to allow him to connect in the flat, short to intermediate, and that's going to allow them to be more aggressive and have that extra explosiveness in the offense. Pop Douglas, good short to intermediate. Kayshon Boutte ran a lot of routes last year, especially in the back 9 of the season. He was getting a lot of opportunity. I look for Stefon Diggs to get peppered with targets. He's been looking healthy. He's been looking good, but I look for him to get peppered with targets. That's an old clip, by the way. I said that before. But I look for him to get a good target share. As long as we get through camp, no other injuries pop up, I look for him to have a good target share. I look for him to have a decent season. I look for Drake Maye. Drake Maye has never really had like a veteran wide receiver like that. He just hasn't had one to work with. I look for him to connect with Stephon Diggs very good. I look for him to have upside with him. I think that's going to help Drake Maye. There's a duck. Look at that duck. Look at that duck. Look at that duck. I was rambling the last time I saw it. I'm not going to act like he's perfect. But prospect profile-wise, not bad. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. But when I look at Drake Maye, I think we're building more around him. I think we need to keep adding pieces to the offense. I think over time, you're just going to see him mature and grow into this role. I think he's definitely an upgrade over Mac Jones, especially from a talent perspective. I think things are going to materialize. I think we got a better depth chart of wide receivers than what people realize. But honestly, some of those guys are going to have to take a step forward in their development as well. Like, they're going to have to start playing to their prospect profile a little bit more. We're looking at the rookies from last year. Well, the year 2 guys now, Jalen Polk and Javon Baker. Both of them have talent, especially Javon Baker. Javon Baker is one of those players that you watch the film in college and you see where he can turn it on. And then you can definitely tell he's one of those players that could be a little bit iffy, could be a little bit volatile when it comes to his prospect development over the course of his career. And the fact is that this is a very talented player that just needs to realize it and step in, step up, and develop. We might catch that more in year 2, year 3. We might catch that more. And Jalen Polk as well. Jalen Polk's a good wide receiver. At Washington, he was nasty, getting targets downfield, had some big catches, some big moments. He's twitched up. He can create separation downfield. He's a savvy route runner, but it's a league where it's full of savvy route runners, and there's levels to that game. It's not a league anymore where there's just a few good route runners that we're making highlights of. You can really do that with a ton of wide receivers because the wide receiver position is different these days. You look at the high school level, and you're going to see guys very technical at the wide receiver spot when you go down the recruiting ranks at wide receiver. Just a different game than what it was 5 to 10 years ago. But you're looking at Polk. He has the potential and ability to get it done if he continues to progress and get better. Kind of like Kayshon Boutte coming out. He had an injury at LSU as one of the better wide receivers in college football, but they allowed him to develop, get better, and now he's on the field. He's a good role player for this team. He ran a lot of routes last year. He was rocking like an 80-plus percentile route participation rate. Pop Douglas is very reliable. A very good wide receiver, great in outlet. They need one of these younger guys to step up, though. They need Stephon Diggs to stay healthy, to create separation, to keep winning, but they need one of these young wide receivers to step up. Fantasy football-wise, Drake Maye, if you're looking at late-round quarterbacks, a good stream, cheap option to mess around with. Quarterback-wise, I'm a streamer, so I just play the matchups, and if I pay up, it's usually I'm paying up due to a discount or what's on the board. I either am overweight with in leagues because I'm in a lot of leagues and I'm diversifying, or I'm just getting that quarterback at a discount a couple rounds later. That's what I'm looking at. Drake Maye, if you want to play that, that's cool. I think he's going to have some opportunities to get you production. You might be able to pick him up, drop him, pick him up, drop him, play the matchups with a lot of other quarterbacks. Quarterbacks looking pretty deep with some intriguing values throughout drafts. So you're going to have to strategize around quarterback. I wouldn't go into your drafts willy-nilly and say, well, I'm just going to pick best player available. You need to know the player pools this year. The running back's so deep. Running back super deep with talent due to this year's rookie class that you need to have a strategy. And I'm not saying zero RB, here RB. I'm saying you need to know the player pools. You need to know the player pools and have your preferences. You need to know how strong you want to be at wide receiver, at what point in the draft. You also need to know where you want to start plugging away at young running backs. And then in the between of all that, tight ends, quarterback. I bit my lips, so I'm talking funny. That being said, Drake Maye has the potential to take a step forward and he's in year 2. Tremendous prospect profile. They added talent to this team, running back and wide receiver, and where they needed to add it to, veteran wide receiver. It's a weak wide receiver class. They added Kyle Williams. Didn't talk about him. And from what I'm seeing and hearing, he's had some good moments, and he's had some quiet moments, especially back half in like minicamp and stuff. But he can create separation, good downfield. You can move him around. He's very aggressive. He's a great fit. Like I said, there's a lot of good young wide receivers in this offense. They need somebody to step up. Also, this is an offense I feel like it takes time for wide receivers to materialize in. That's what it seems like. But Drake Maye, this is a prospect to watch. I'm watching him hard in training camp. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I want to hear about that. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.